www.seancartervillas.co.ke.
The first batch of the Kenya team for the Olympics has landed in Rio de Janeiro. The Kenya national sevens men's and women's teams are in the group, and this is thanks to a firm stand by the Kenya Rugby Union that saw the women's team retain their place following fervent efforts by the National Olympic Committee of Kenya to bump them off. Now, Russia will not receive a blanket ban from Rio 2016 following the country's doping scandal. The International Olympic Committee will leave it up to individual sports governing bodies to decide if Russian competitors are clean and should be allowed to take part. And the decision follows a report in which Canadian law professor Richard McLean said Russia operated a state-sponsored doping program from 2011 to 2015. Here's BBC Sport with more details.
This decision is intended to balance the individual rights of clean Russian competitors against any collective blanket ban. The IOC will now ask sports federations to decide on individual athletes' participation, according to a set criteria which will include an analysis of their anti-doping record. But given the weight of evidence against Russia, which centres on wide-scale state-organised doping and an orchestrated cover-up, the IOC's decision will prompt outrage amongst many who believe the country has no right to compete in Brazil.
In cycling, Kenyan-born Brit Chris Froome won his third Tour de France when he crossed the finish line of the 21-stage race in Paris yesterday. And the Team Sky rider is the first man to defend his title in more than 20 years. Here's BBC Sport.
Chris Froome has won the Tour de France for the third time and is the first Briton ever to retain the yellow jersey in back-to-back editions of the race. The Team Sky rider successfully negotiated the 21st and final stage, finishing on the famous Champs-Élysées in Paris as German champion André Greipel won the traditional sprint finish. 31-year-old Froome won the race ahead of Frenchman Romain Bardet and Colombian Nairo Quintana, while fourth-placed Adam Yates became the first British rider ever to win the white jersey for the best young rider.
It feels amazing. I mean, it could be the first one all over again. It's just such a special, just the combination of the months and months of hard work of all my teammates, all the support team, and what it symbolises standing on this final podium on the Champs-Élysées here in Paris. It's monumental. It's such an amazing feeling. It felt as if everything was thrown at me in this year's Tour de France, and I had to be good in all terrains to win it, and obviously the support of such a strong team behind me.
Lewis Hamilton cruised to a comfortable victory at the Hungarian Grand Prix to take the championship lead for the first time this season. The world champion controlled the race from the moment he passed Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg at the start and is now 6 points ahead of the German. Here's BBC Sport with more details.
Lewis Hamilton comes through the final corner to win for a record 5th time in Hungary, and for the first time this season leads the Formula One World Championship as he wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. Overtaking is notoriously difficult around the Hungaroring, so the start was always going to be crucial. In truth, the Mercedes starts from the front row weren't amazing, but Hamilton's was better than Rosberg as he took the lead and never looked like losing it. Ricciardo drove his Red Bull to a solid third despite late pressure from the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, but heading to both Mercedes and Rosberg's home race in Germany next weekend, Hamilton is leading the World Championship for the first time this season.
It's an amazing feeling to be up in lead, but obviously there's a long way to go, so it's nothing you can get too excited about. You've seen issues we've had up and down throughout the season, so can't get ahead of myself. Just got to continue doing what I'm doing, keep my head down, stay focused. From here it's going to get hard for sure, but I now need to get a little bit of a buffer in the next race if I can, in order to put me in good stead, so when I have to start last on the grid, hopefully I don't lose too much ground.
In tennis, world number one Serena Williams has withdrawn from next week's Rogers Cup in Montreal because of an injury, and Williams joins title holder Andy Murray, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal in pulling out of the event in Toronto.
Sean Carter-Villas, the voice of sport.